Imagine a time when the entire world spoke just one language. No barriers, no misunderstandings. Everyone was united. But then, something happened that changed everything forever. In the heart of ancient Mesopotamia, a group of people decided to build something extraordinary. A tower so tall, it could reach the heavens. This wasn't just any building. It was a symbol of human ambition, power, and unity. But their mission didn't go as planned. What if I told you that humanity once tried to build a gateway to heaven, and it ended in disaster? The Tower of Babel is one of the most mysterious stories in history. According to the Bible, God saw what the people were doing and wasn't pleased. He didn't destroy the tower, but instead did something even more powerful. He confused their language. Suddenly, no one could understand each other. Chaos broke out, and people scattered across the earth, forming the nations we know today. But was this just a simple punishment? Or was there something deeper at play? Could this tower have been more than just a building? Was it an attempt to reach the divine, unlock hidden knowledge, or even challenge God himself? In this video, we'll uncover the truth behind the Tower of Babel. We'll explore its historical roots, the real-life structures it may have been based on, and the deeper meaning hidden in this ancient event. Stay with me as we dive into one of the greatest mysteries of the ancient world, the Tower of Babel, the forbidden blueprint to heaven. A long time ago, after the Great Flood, all people spoke the same language. They lived together and worked as one. As they traveled, they found a wide, flat land in a place called Shinar, which we now call Mesopotamia. There they decided to settle and build something amazing, a tower that would reach the heavens. According to the Bible, Genesis 11:1-9, the people wanted to make a great name for themselves. They said, "Let us build a city with a tower that reaches the sky, so we won't be scattered across the earth." They didn't just want to build a tall structure, they wanted to stay united and powerful. But God saw what they were doing. He knew that if they succeeded, nothing would stop them from doing whatever they wanted. So instead of destroying the tower, he did something even more powerful. He confused their language. Suddenly, people couldn't understand each other. They became frustrated and had no choice but to stop building and spread out across the world. This place became known as Babel, meaning confusion. Was this just a tower? Many historians and archaeologists believe that the Tower of Babel may have been inspired by real buildings from ancient Mesopotamia, especially the ziggurats of Babylon. These were step-shaped pyramids made of mud bricks, built to worship gods. The most famous one was Etemenanki, a massive ziggurat dedicated to Marduk, the chief god of Babylon. Some believe this could be the real Tower of Babel. But could it have been more than just a tower? Some theories suggest that the people of Babel were trying to connect with the spiritual world, maybe even open a gateway to heaven. Others think they were trying to gain knowledge or power that God had not intended for them to have. Was the Tower of Babel a simple building project, or was it an attempt to defy God's authority and unlock secrets beyond human reach? Before the Tower of Babel, the world was very different from today. According to the Bible, all people spoke one language and lived together as one community. There were no language barriers, no cultural divisions. Everyone understood each other perfectly. This unity allowed them to work together without confusion or misunderstanding. As they moved across the land, they settled in a place called Shinar, in what is now known as Mesopotamia. Here, they decided to build a city and a massive tower that would reach the heavens. Their reason? They wanted to make a great name for themselves and avoid being scattered across the earth. At first glance, this might seem like a story of human unity and progress. But when we look deeper, we see that the people of Babel were not just trying to build something impressive. They were trying to control their own destiny without God. The people's goal wasn't just to stay together. It was to build something that would elevate them to the level of God. They wanted to create their own path to heaven instead of following God's will. The tower became a symbol of human pride and ambition, a way to prove that they could achieve greatness on their own. In many ways, Babel was the first example of human rebellion against divine authority after the Great Flood. Instead of obeying God's command to spread across the earth, Genesis 9:1, they chose to stay in one place and build a monument to themselves. God saw their actions and knew that if they succeeded, it would only lead to greater rebellion. In Genesis 11:6, he says, "If as one people speaking the same language they have begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them." This wasn't just about a tower. It was about humans trying to take control and challenge God's authority. So instead of destroying the tower, God did something even more powerful. He confused their language. Suddenly, people couldn't understand each other. Their unity was broken, and they had no choice but to abandon their project and scatter across the earth. This moment changed history forever. It explains why the world is filled with different languages and cultures today. But it also serves as a warning. When people put their pride above God's plan, their efforts will never succeed. After the people of Babel decided to build their massive tower to reach the heavens, God saw their actions and understood their intentions. They were trying to make a name for themselves and control their future, instead of following his plan. To stop them, God didn't destroy the tower. Instead, he did something even more powerful. In the Bible, it says that God descended to see what the people were doing. Genesis 11:5. This means that God came down from heaven to look closely at their actions. And then, he took action. God confused their language, meaning that he made it so that the people could no longer understand each other. This was a supernatural act, something that only God could do. Imagine a whole group of people, all speaking the same language, suddenly being unable to understand one another. This caused chaos. People started arguing and couldn't cooperate anymore. Without being able to communicate, they could no longer work together to finish the tower. Because of this confusion, the people scattered across the earth. No longer able to stay in one place, they formed different nations and cultures. Each group began to speak their own unique language. This event marked the beginning of the birth of nations and linguistic groups. The once united human race was now divided into different tribes and civilizations, each with its own language, culture, and way of life. This moment reshaped the world. Instead of one united people, there were now many. The division of languages became a lasting sign of God's intervention, showing that humanity's pride and desire for power would not go unchallenged. The story of Babel reminds us that God's plan cannot be stopped, no matter how hard humans try to defy it. The story of the Tower of Babel is often seen as a lesson about human pride and disobedience. But could there be a deeper meaning? Some people believe that the tower wasn't just a building project, but an attempt to access hidden knowledge, or even connect with the divine world. Could the Tower of Babel have been more than just a tall structure? Some theorists suggest that the people of Babel were trying to build a spiritual gateway, a connection between the earth and heaven. This idea is similar to many ancient myths that talk about divine-human separation and the desire to bridge the gap. In these myths, humans often try to reach the gods, either by building great towers or seeking forbidden knowledge. The Tower of Babel could have been a way to unlock some kind of power or wisdom that was beyond ordinary human reach. Another interesting idea is that the people of Babel might have been trying to recreate the knowledge that existed before the flood. In the Bible, before the flood, there were giants and great civilizations with advanced knowledge. Some believe that after the flood, much of this knowledge was lost. The Tower of Babel might have been an attempt to recover or rebuild this lost wisdom, a way for humans to return to a time when they had a closer relationship with the divine. While we can't be sure about these ideas, the story of Babel invites us to consider that there may be more to the tower than just a building. It could have been a symbol of humanity's desire to reach beyond their limits and access knowledge that was meant to remain hidden. The story of the Tower of Babel is not just an ancient tale. Many people believe that its themes are still present in today's world, especially when we think about global unity and modern technology. The ambition of the people in Babel was to build a tower to reach the heavens and make a name for themselves. They wanted to unite the world under their control. Is it possible that we are seeing echoes of that same ambition today? One way we might see this is in globalist movements, ideas that push for closer unity among nations. Some groups believe that the world should come together as one, without borders, to solve global problems. While unity can be good, the ambition behind this idea sometimes feels like the same desire for power and control that we saw in Babel. Just as the people of Babel wanted to avoid scattering across the earth, today's global movements sometimes want everyone to think the same and work together as one, often without considering the diversity of cultures and beliefs. Another interesting connection is the push for a universal language. In the past, the Bible says that all humans spoke one language. But at Babel, this was changed. Today, we have technologies like artificial intelligence and translation apps that try to break down language barriers. The idea of creating a universal language through technology might remind us of Babel's goal to unite people under one common speech. So, is history repeating itself? Some people believe it is. Just as the Tower of Babel was an attempt to reach the heavens and unite the world in a way that went against God's plan, today's efforts for global unity and universal communication might be attempts to build something beyond human limits. Whether this leads to success or division remains to be seen, but the lessons of Babel are still relevant today. The story of the Tower of Babel is more than just an ancient tale. It's a lesson that still holds relevance today. The people of Babel were united by one language and one goal: to build a tower that could reach the heavens and make a name for themselves. But their ambition, driven by pride and the desire for control, led to confusion and division. So what can we learn from this story? First, it's a reminder of the dangers of unchecked human pride. The people of Babel thought they could achieve greatness without relying on God. In the end, their efforts were scattered, and their unity was broken. We can learn that true success and unity come from working together under God's guidance and not from trying to surpass His authority. The story also teaches us about the importance of diversity and the role of language in shaping cultures. God's action at Babel caused the birth of many nations and languages, which led to a rich variety of cultures. This diversity, though it may lead to challenges, is part of God's plan for the world. Now, I'd like to hear your thoughts. Do you think Babel was just a tower, or was it something more? Was it simply a construction project, or did the people of Babel have a deeper, spiritual goal? If you found this video interesting, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment below with your thoughts. I'd love to hear your perspective on the Tower of Babel and its lessons for us today. Thanks for watching.